Gods of the Upper Air: How a Circle of Renegade Anthropologists Reinvented Race, Sex, and Gender in the 20th Century was written by Dr. Charles King and published in 2019 by Penguin Random House. King, a professor of international affairs and government at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., is the author of 10 books, largely focused on society, governance, and culture in Eastern Europe. Gods of the Upper Air became a New York Times bestseller and earned multiple accolades, including the 2020 Francis Parkman Prize and the Anisfield Wolf Award. It was also shortlisted for the National Book Critics Circle Award, the Los Angeles Times History Prize, and the British Academy's Al Rodhan Prize. The book's title is drawn from a quote in Zora Neale Hurston's 1942 memoir, Dust Tracks on a Road. "The gods of the upper air have uncovered their faces to my eyes." King uses this line to signal the radical vision and immersive fieldwork undertaken by a group of pioneering anthropologists connected to Franz Boas, the central figure of the narrative. King opens with a defining moment in 1925, as 23-year-old Margaret Mead departs for the Samoan Islands. Her fieldwork there would result in Coming of Age in Samoa, a seminal work in anthropology. As King notes, Mead left behind not just a husband, but also a boyfriend and a female lover, an unconventional personal life that shaped her revolutionary ideas on gender and sexuality. From there, King rewinds the story to explore the career of Mead's mentor, Franz Boas. A German Jewish immigrant, Boas initially struggled to secure a lasting academic post in the U.S. and spent time working as a curator at the American Museum of Natural History. There, he encountered the prestige of racial science in the American intellectual establishment, exemplified by the museum's eugenics conference and exhibits warning against interracial procreation. At the time, many biologists and anthropologists believed that race was a fixed biological reality that determined both physical traits and psychological characteristics. Boas firmly rejected these ideas. Drawing on his fieldwork in northern Canada and the Pacific Northwest, he eventually secured a professorship at Columbia University in 1897. From this platform, he launched research that systematically challenged the foundations of racial science. Alongside students, among them a young Zora Neale Hurston, Boas collected detailed physical measurements of New York's immigrant populations. His data demonstrated that American-born children of immigrants resembled native-born Americans more than they did children born in their parents' countries. Environmental factors like diet and living conditions, Boas argued, played a far greater role in shaping physical traits than race. As a teacher, Boas inspired a generation of anthropologists to take his approach abroad. He maintained that although cultures are diverse, all human beings share a common humanity, and no culture is inherently superior. His most influential protégés, Mead, Hurston, Ruth Benedict, and Ella Cara Deloria, took this philosophy to heart and helped establish cultural relativism as the cornerstone of modern anthropology. The second half of King's book follows these groundbreaking women. Mead, in particular, stands out. She was married and divorced 3 times and openly inclined toward a polyamorous lifestyle. Her frustrations with the restrictive norms of American sexuality sharpened her insight that cultural beliefs about sex and gender could diverge dramatically from biological and psychological realities. Through her fieldwork in Samoa, Mead argued that young women came of age in a society far more sexually permissive than the U.S., and that this freedom shaped their behavior and desires. In effect, she applied Boas's anti-racist methodology to gender, challenging long-held Western ideas about womanhood and sexuality. Ruth Benedict, who was at one point Mead's lover, and according to King, the love of Mead's life, became a passionate advocate for Boasian thought. Her 1934 book, Patterns of Culture, introduced the term cultural relativity, a concept that remains central to anthropology today. Zora Neale Hurston applied Boas's techniques to the study of her own African American heritage in the Gulf Coast region. Her fieldwork yielded 2 books, Mules and Men, 1936, an early and important work on African American folklore, and the literary classic Their Eyes Were Watching God, 1937. Ella Cara Deloria, an indigenous scholar born on the Yankton Indian Reservation in South Dakota, worked closely with Boas to develop anthropological research methods rooted in Western academic traditions, while resisting their usual Eurocentric and male-dominated assumptions. Deloria's work was groundbreaking in its fusion of scholarly rigor with indigenous perspectives. Despite their achievements, all four women faced deep institutional sexism. When Mead declined a marriage proposal from fellow anthropologist Edward Sapir, he suggested she be institutionalized. In addition to sexism, both Hurston and Deloria also contended with the racism endemic to the academic world. King contends that the work of Boas and his students had far-reaching political implications. By the 1930s, as Boas neared retirement, he watched with horror as Nazi Germany embraced the racial science once championed by American intellectuals. He began referring to race, always in quotation marks, as a dangerous fiction. In the book's closing, King reflects on the legacy of Boas and his circle. While racial science may have been expelled from mainstream academia, he warns its underlying ideas persist and continue to pose a threat. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy this video, leave a like and subscribe.